I think in the first place it is important to underline that the tensions that we are seeing in Europe as a consequence of the Russian intervention of a sovereign country is not impacting so far on the cooperation in the Arctic Council. The Arctic has been an area of low tension. It has been based on, cooperation has been based on international treaties, and we believe that it should continue in that way. We believe that it will continue in that way. The cooperation in the Arctic Council has been very constructive with all members of the Council, and we expect that to continue. So far you haven't seen anybody having an interest in changing that pattern.
Of course.
Let's take first the relations between the various parts of the Kingdom of Denmark. We have three parts in the kingdom. There's Greenland, there's the Faroe Islands, and Denmark. And as far as Greenland is concerned, there's already been a very, very significant transfer of competences from central government in Denmark to Greenland. And I don't see anybody in Denmark really wanting to prevent Greenland from taking up even more the responsibility for the future of Greenland. It is now so that only foreign and defense policies are really a common task of the Kingdom of Denmark. Greenland has sovereignty, so to speak, over the other areas. It is a fact that even now Greenland is receiving from Denmark every year what amounts to around €500 million.
Yes.
And we are talking about a population of around 60,000 people in this enormous, vast and beautiful territory. So it is pretty obvious that for the time being it is difficult to see how Greenland can manage everything on its own. But the competences as far as raw materials, the extraction of minerals are concerned, they have been transferred to Greenland. The recent developments where oil prices are going down and down, of course means that extraction in very harsh and environmentally very fragile areas like Greenland, but the Arctic in general, have become less interesting for oil companies because it's very expensive to extract. You need to take a lot of concern, to pay a lot of attention to the environmental consequences, because it is a very fragile environment, and consequently it is not easy. And I saw actually this morning in the Danish press that 3 of the oil companies that have been doing exploratory examinations of the possibilities that they have decided to hand back their concessions. So for the time being, it's hard to see with the oil prices and with the prospects of 20, 30 years that it will be mineral extraction that will create a lot of new opportunities for Greenland. Unfortunately, one could add. When it comes to the continental shelf, then Denmark has done the same as the other Arctic countries have done, namely submitted its claim to the simply to, in a way, to establish how far out the continental shelf of Greenland is. It's different from the 200 miles economic zone. And that is part of a process that has been going on for some years. The other Arctic countries have presented their claims. Now Denmark, the Kingdom of Denmark has done it within the time limits that have been established. And now the Arctic countries will begin discussing, negotiating with one another. There are overlaps between the Danish claims and the claims of other Arctic countries, but that will have to be settled according to the Law of the Sea Convention. So it is a long process. It has started now because Greenland is such an important entity in the Arctic. Then, of course, the claim, and because of the geology of the seabed in the Arctic Sea, then it is a fairly substantial chunk of continental shelf that Denmark has. The Kingdom of Denmark, in other words, Denmark and Greenland together, have claimed, and then we'll have to take it from there. I mean, Denmark would welcome an EU observership in the Arctic Council. The Arctic Council consists of the countries that have territories, borders in the Arctic, and that's the way it should be. It has been functioning well, and we want to see that cooperation continue. But it is obvious that there are a number of other countries and organizations, entities, such as the European Union, which have important contributions to make, and where it would be useful to have them on board as observers. So, I mean, it's not difficult for somebody knowing how important the export of seal hides are, and I mean it is important in Greenland also because it's part of the economy of many families in Greenland. They hunt seals. They have always been hunting seals. They consume the meat, and they either use or they sell the furs. I mean, that's the way it has always been. That's the way it also is for the Inuits of Canada, and I mean the conflict between Canada and the European Union, or the disagreement between the two, relates to precisely that issue. So from the perspective of somebody knowing how important hides are for, or furs are for Inuits, then it is of course an important disagreement. But as I said, we would very much want the EU to become an observer, and we hope that it'll materialize in a not very distant future, in fact in the near future. When it comes to the governance in the Arctic Council, I mean, we are still at an early phase regarding observers, because a number of observers have now been given permanent observer status, and I think that one of the tasks of the coming years will be precisely to see how and where observers can best contribute to the work of the Arctic Council and to the protection and the promotion economically of the Arctic areas. It is, I mean, it is developing and as many other councils or institutions. It's a step-by-step approach. But I mean, there is now a secretariat, and the work has been going on for a number of years. Every member, all members can see the advantages of working together, and consequently you will also see an institutional development that reflects the interests of the member countries in having a common, well-functioning body. Well, I mean, we have been one of those countries that from day one of the Italian request
so thank you.
for permanent observer status, we've been one of the countries supporting Italy. We recognize that Italy has a long tradition of research in the Arctic and the Antarctic, and that there is resources in Italy, in Italian institutions, that can be beneficial to the work of the Arctic Council, and therefore we have been supportive from the very beginning, and we are very happy that Italy is now a permanent observer in the Arctic Council. Absolutely, and that's precisely why I'm saying that Italy has many resources, many experiences from Arctic and Antarctic exploration and in many fields, and therefore it is of course useful to get that into the Arctic Council framework. And as I said, now it is also going to be interesting to see how the observers, because Italy is not the only permanent observer.
Oh no, of course.
How in a way you can harness the experiences of the permanent observers to the benefit of the Arctic nations.